Hi guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the Girl Lead my STEM career series, limited series. My name is Faith Donwa. I'm your host. This is a show where we talk about opportunities in STEM, break them down, demystify what exactly is about, talk about what people do with day-to-day experiences, and also begin to sort of paint pictures on how you can get into these opportunities and also use these careers to create solutions for your community and globally at large. Today's guest we have with us Stephen Gabriel. I'm just going to read a bit of a bio and I'm going to let Stephen talk about himself more. So Stephen he's actually Dr. Stephen. I correct myself. Stephen is a senior staff software engineer whose work spans platform engineering, AI privacy, and technical governance. He's into research, and his research interests is around healthcare, technology, and AI, with a focus on what exactly is emerging technology policy intersection with healthcare. Now, primarily, he builds tools that advance public health outcomes, and he consults independently for large enterprises on AI infrastructure and DevOps engineering. Now, I just read a lot of words I actually do not understand. So, welcome, Stephen. I'm hoping you can explain your bio for us in more detail.
Yeah, that was a good introduction. I don't think I have to explain anything, but if you want me to go to talk more about myself, I'm happy to go deep. I
Well,
don't know
first
if
of
I
all,
could do. Don't know if I'm gonna do better than you did. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
first of all, you're now a doctor. Wait, no, that doctor is that dentistry doctor or PhD doctor?
Oh, that's a good question. Because of that's actually a really good because of how I live my life as a researcher as well. So and then most people would just assume I have a PhD, but I don't, right? I actually
What?
did go to medical school and I paid my dues and I actually became a dental surgeon. And yeah, so it's actually a medical side of doctor, but it's not a PhD. But I do active research that the first instance people see me, they go, oh, he must be a PhD. He's a PhD doctor. Yeah.
Well, that's helpful because I can ask that question because I know you from way back, but
Yeah.
we're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the very, very back.
Okay, great.
Talk about what kind of like begin on exactly what we're here to talk about today, which is software engineering, AI privacy.
Right.
That sounds like a mouthful. And I
Yeah.
think simple terms would be helpful to sort of explain or sort of understand what exactly, not necessarily what do you like, what exactly is that?
Right. That's such a really good question. This is the origin of it. How we do machine learning now or before is that if I need to do machine learning with your data, I have to send it over or
Yeah.
copy it. I have to have it in one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
So what usually will happen would be that when you when you send that data, then whatever happens. You don't know what's gonna happen to it. You're just gonna trust that I'm gonna use it ethically. It's gonna be
Yeah.
private. But that's not usually what happens, right? Just in case you don't know, there are more important d- private private data than there are public data. Any data that you see public are way more quality data that are private than there are public ones.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like because of that, the mission of privacy engineering is to design systems that would
Yeah.
allow institutions to unlock those important data without the fear of misuse,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So AI privacy now twisted the whole thing. He said, okay, you know what? Data is the most important thing that we care
Yeah.
about. How about we design systems that would make when you're about to build AI models or machine learning models or learn anything about that has to do with AI on
Yeah.
someone's data, they keep their data and
Mhm.
control the mechanism of how you learn. But the natural paradigm is that data goes to model and the
Okay.
model learns on the data, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's a very big problem because there's something called the law of sharing economics, right? Think about it. There are several photos, memes you've received, but you don't know how many times it's been copied and shared. You don't know. Before it got to you, most people are billion times
Yeah.
because there's what they call the copying problem. Once data leaves your hard drive or your storage, you can't do anything about it anymore. I have control. Imagine if you give me any data right now, what are you gonna do? How do you know if I copy to some? How do you know? Right?
Hold on. Couple of things on my mind. One, you said in the machine learning system. So I think
Yeah.
you need to also break down that what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, because you are building on something else. And then also, I think, well, first of all, I think it sort of makes sense in sense of it's as simple as if I'm giving you a book I really cannot police how you use the book.
Yes.
Once the book leaves my hands, it's out of my
Yeah.
hands. So I
Yeah.
cannot decide. Now,
Yeah.
if that book is probably going to be spread, it's an oversimplification, but if that
Yeah.
book is probably going to be sent 20 times to probably 20 different places,
Yeah.
it's kind of building systems, I mean, on an AI level to ensure that even as the book is being passed across,
Yeah.
protection for the book
Yeah.
itself.
There's protection. Yeah.
Okay. So
That's the kind of the gist.
I want to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the gist. Yeah.
Okay, so machine learning and models are two things you use that I think
Yeah.
to break down. So first of all, are you saying that what you do is built on machine learning?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not even going to underemphasize the question that you just asked because when people hear AI privacy, they
Yeah.
think that I built on top of AI first. No,
Okay.
like the kind of work that I do would even make you building machine learning models harder, right? Because here's the thing: if you think about it, what we are bringing in is data control at the infrastructure level. So instead of Faith now being powerless with how we're using her data, Faith gets to keep her data. And Stephen could say, "Oh, Faith, I see that you have this really interesting data about XYZ ABC. No one else has it." That's why I started by saying that there are more important private data than there are public data. Because private data is niche. They would have collected really niche data. Just imagine like a very huge hospital that treats only one type of cancer. They are so good that they've built this data for 20 years. You don't have it. It's not public anywhere. Now you see that you know they have the data. And you are a researcher, right? Because
Yeah.
the entire idea of AI privacy is so that you can build systems that would allow future research or new research to be unlocked. Because
Okay.
research is dead on arrival if you don't have access to if you don't have access to data,
Data.
right? So now
Yeah.
what we do, we go, okay, Faith. So we come as AI privacy people. Say, oh, Mr. X, you wanna do data science on first Faith's data? You wanna see what I'm gonna say now. You wanna do machine learning on Faith's data. You wanna
Yeah.
build model on Faith's data, right? Perfect. First thing is that the data owner is king.
Okay.
The feelings of the researcher is not important.
Yeah.
So in AI privacy, the owner of the data is king.
Okay.
Just like a philosopher king in Socratic era, right? Like it's like we come and we give control, we give the control to both parties, data scientist, machine learning engineer, model builder, whatever you want to call it. This is the interface for you to be able to interact with this data. You
Okay.
data owner Faith, this is the control you have. You can inspect this person's code before they run it on your data. Yes. So they don't even see your data. They never get to see your at all. It changes everything. Because you can now say you cannot learn on column X, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. No, that's not for you. Decide everything because the data is yours. You can put control. You can say people from this organization can see this data. People from this can never see this data. You see, all of a sudden now you're not bringing in huge restrictions. For instance, right now, a good example now, that data that you have, let's say Faith is the largest oncology clinic in the Western world.
Yeah.
For 50 years. Trust me, just by saying this, you have data nobody has.
Yes.
And here's the thing. This is the thing people don't think. Another thing I wanted to think about, because I know I think we're done we're nerding now.
Yeah.
Is that think about it. So don't understand that once you specialize in something,
Yes.
you have data no one else has.
Yes.
And the bigger you are as an entity, that the data grows.
True. That's
And
correct.
nobody can have that data.
Yes.
And when someone comes that has needs for that data, you need controls. And because again, here's the thing. We believe that if we can solve privacy properly, people would not be afraid to unlock their private data. Because the problem with why do you think people don't want to copy the data? Because of the sharing problem. If you give me that data, you don't have control anymore. And here's a fun fact. Because the people that are going to use that data never get to see it, never get to copy, they can't copy it. But they've achieved their goal of what they wanted to learn from your data. They've done their model, but they don't have your data.
Wow. So if I understand correctly, first of all, let me just check. If you are saying, keep on saying models, would you say, this is probably a dumb question, but
Yeah.
is ChatGPT a model?
That's it. Yes, it is. It's a large language model.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that means if I am training a ChatGPT or Claude, whatever, and use the data to train, so OpenAI can use my data to train ChatGPT, but
Yeah.
they do not have my data.
And you can control how they access the data.
How they access it, they
Yeah.
access it, but they do not have it like to
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is a good point you just raised now. Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting because, like, it's really, really important because one of the things that skepticisms that people had with when ChatGPT and all these LLM started was my data. You are using my data to learn to trade. There was a lot of noise about it that time, and now that I think they want to introduce ads, there is this conversation about you are selling my data. That's why you're able to
Yeah.
give me personalized ads. So I think this is quite interesting. Now, one last geeking out question before we probably move to lighter stuff is
Yeah.
when you say you are doing data science and machine learning with my data, what exactly is machine
Oh
learning?
man, you keep asking these questions and I keep going down. Okay, here's the thing, right? Understand that we've overflogged this term, machine learning,
Okay.
AI,
Yeah.
and we've called it several names. But you know what? Let's take out all of that. Let's use the mathematical word of every of those magical thing, model, in whatever you want to call it. The actual word is called
Okay.
statistical machine learning.
Okay.
What so what do you call it? AI engineering, data science. Because every of these thing requires one piece, data.
Data.
That's it. That's one thing that stays. You can decide to use, for instance, I mentioned large language model. How large language models are built are very different. They need, look at it. They have sometimes have 21 billion parameters. People don't understand. That's like a wide column of data, right? 21 billion parameters. If you think about it, if you think about an Excel sheet and each column, for instance, is is a parameter, just think of 21 billion of that. Just imagine that, right? It's
Yeah.
directly mappable to that, but that's how wide data that they have. Now, they had this data low. I'm sure that they copied it in one way or the other. They couldn't have, because right now, I don't know if they used AI privacy techniques to build this model. So whatever you want to call it, machine learning model, the idea is that anything that learns from data is data science.
Okay.
That's like, if you split this word and don't think about the title or the career or whatever they do. I have data. You want to learn from it to build a model. You want to learn from it to inform someone. Anything you want to do on top of my data is data science. So the data science can result in a model. It can result in an analysis. It can result in an LLM engineering, whatever LLM model, anything that comes out of data science, as long as you're going to learn from my data.
Yes.
Yes. So machine learning is now a type of AI, because data science is the act itself.
Okay.
Like machine learning is now a type of the act you're doing. Data scientists can do machine learning engineering because machine learning is data science. But what they produce and what a data analyst would produce are very different
Two
things.
different things.
That's why sometimes when you think about the paradigm, I will always tell people that a data analyst is a data scientist, because they still look at data to do something, but it's probably not resulting in a model like a machine learning engineer would. And now some people would never turn that into a product like an AI engineer would. So machine learning is a type of AI because AI is an overarching term.
That is, I see it because I think that's really, really helpful because sometimes when we flog these terms, throw these terms around, people are not sure. For example, on this series, we're going to have two things. So we do this Women in Data Camp program where annually we get women in collaboration with Data Camp. And there is data science, business analysis, data. I just facilitate. Half the time, I'm like curious. I'm like, what exactly is the difference? And also on this series as well, we're going to have a data engineer come after. And it's quite interesting to hear the distinction because they all have data in front of it, but they are all having different sort of like outputs, different responsibilities, different things that they focus on. And the nuances can be quite confusing for people because they're like, it's not just all data. But like you said, as you get into it, you start to see the outputs are different. The focus is different. What you are solving for is different.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things you pointed out is quite interesting. Probably leads to my next question is that you sort of have to start from data science. And that's interesting because I remember you starting from data science. I don't know
That's when you knew me.
exactly when
Okay,
I
yeah. But that's
when I saw the bio, I was like, where did he? It's not the bio. I saw the tag. I was like, where did he go from? So because I think it's sort of relevant for anyone who might be interested to say, "Oh, I would like to build AI privacy systems." How
Yeah,
did you get to go back to dentistry, all the way back
yeah.
to dentistry, right? How did you get from dentistry to AI privacy?
It's, that's a good question. I think the thing is to also move a little bit step back, back.
Okay.
Like my exposure to computers have been way earlier. I think I had my first computer exposure at 14.
Right.
I already knew. I already was sort of like playing with computers, developing things. I was just saying this will tell you how old I am. For instance, I used NetBeans and Eclipse. If anybody knows what NetBeans is, like one of the oldest IDEs for like to program with Java. My first ever language I wrote was Java, right? And so if you knew Eclipse and NetBeans, that means you tell me probably that I'm old, right? But that's not the point of the conversation.
It's
It's
not.
that
I've written. I've done.
right, right. So before heading off to med school,
Yeah.
I already knew that I wanted to solve healthcare with engineering. That was clear. But what that means, I didn't know, right? So when I got into school, I never specifically had interest to be in data science. I'm going to tell you how it came to be, how I even decided to even look at AI as a field. Then all through, I met University of Benin, right? So
Yes.
when I came to University of Benin, I had exposure to like many things and people that are running like workshops and whatever. Then I started contributing to the tech community. At the
Okay.
same time, I think my second year, I started working as a software engineer, junior software engineer for a company in the UK at the time. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm trying to tell you that you didn't, the story you have is not full, is not complete.
Complete. Okay.
Then I worked like that. And I started also, most things I was doing was very, very just pure software engineering, tech heavy. It had nothing to do with like data. I didn't know so much about data science until my exposure was I think it was an event that happened with some folks at MIT.
Okay. They came to Unipen.
Yes. I
Okay.
think something before that. And I stumbled upon the whole idea of statistical learning. That is
Okay.
learning from data. It was new. I was hearing, I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then the uptick now came from when I started building little things. I was like, oh, let me even attempt. So you have data somewhere, columns of things, and then you just want to predict if the weather is going to, because that was when it was new, right? You predict regression analysis, just predict that what the weather is going to be. So
Mhm.
my point is that I started core engineering, encountered the whole data science field, then
Yeah.
started exploring it. But I was still an engineer. Like I was not fully a data scientist. I've not been really being a full data scientist, right? I was this engineer that just started understanding data science field. And I'm like, this is a great field, but I feel like there are some approaches they're doing wrong and how people approach like designing the systems. So I became sort of like software engineer in data.
Yeah. Hmm.
You see? So I cared so much about data science, but also in how you design the systems that run it. So this was happening alongside being in school, which was tough. And I do not recommend for anybody that's going to watch this in the future. Please do not go off to, I mean,
Don't
do
say
whatever
that.
you want, but
Was
it was so stressful. Trust me. It was so stressful
it the
having to
school
run
or the
this.
program
Yeah.
or the combination of
Yes. The
all the
combination of it, and just going to a school like University of Benin was difficult on its own, right? As a school.
TV? I don't know how you electro.
Yeah. Yes, I was overwhelmed, right? And so at the time when when I joined Girl Lead,
Yeah.
it was I didn't because I was a head of tech, right? My
Yeah.
interest wasn't just data, right?
Yes.
It was more so that I wanted to also bring the holistic aspect of the whole thing because I believe at the time that you cannot be a good data scientist if you don't understand like proper like how to write good software, because you would just probably not be able to like keep going because one of the biggest problem at the time was 98% of data science projects just failed. It stayed in your local machine because you don't know what to do with it after that.
Okay.
So I was wanting to bring engineering. So this is kind of like the backstory, but what now solidified it was in 2018. when I
Yeah.
had a patient one time, because I was doing my surgery postings, medicine and surgery postings, and one of my patients like passed on from breast cancer issues,
Wow.
and I was like, you know what? I am going to now use all this knowledge I've gathered about AI and machine learning and software engineering, and I'm going to use it to solve cancer, breast cancer specifically.
Okay.
And I had designed at the time when it was not known, it was very novel. I had
Okay.
built the first ever at the time in UBTH, a system that would do histopathological analysis of breast cancer data, like histopathology data. Like if you know those slide films,
No, I don't know
you know
this.
those things that lab people look at, right?
Okay, that
Those things, yeah. It's histology, right? So after they do that whole looking, they always develop a think about it. Like if you biopsy an image, right? At the end of the day, the tissue will appear the way it appears, right? So
okay.
the histopathology is if the tissue is so histology as a study. Sorry, I'm about to do some
I
medical
don't know
science
where how
learning.
you
But like histology is the study of like healthy tissues, right? If the
Okay.
tissue is healthy, that's histology analysis. You study at its normal stage. But
Okay.
histopathology is the
Okay.
study of tissues that are diseased.
Okay.
So histopathological analysis is when you now take those tissue you see and you start looking for, oh, is there starry sky here? If this cell is in this, it means that you have a bucket lymphoma, for instance. But that was stressful because humans have to look, and that's prone to error, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? What machine that can solve that faster? Machine learning.
Why?
Because they're good at looking at images, right? And I was
Oh,
like, yes. And I was like, why can't we just do it? So I worked with some guys from surgery department. I know a Professor Eze at the time. He was a professor in anatomy and or whatever pathology, and then we worked together and then we built the first. So that was kind of like the rough breakdown story. But I already had my computer exposure from way back, and yeah, for school.
I mean, do you know if UBTH is still using that system or if they've
No,
evolved?
they don't. They don't.
They don't.
They don't. Yeah, because I was a bit naive at the time.
Okay.
My naivety was that I thought that the issue we had alone was engineering issues, but I realized that the health tech issue at some point are policy issues, not engineering issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not good there. All right. Well, that's sad. Yeah, that's sad.
No.
Okay. So you do that and then you graduate from dentistry. And do you at any point use that degree?
Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you then how did you decide to make the switch or rather to further specialize in AI privacy?
Yeah. I think it was from the last thing I just said now, which is that some health solutions are not engineering problems.
Okay.
For instance, to get access to breast cancer images
Yeah.
from the UBTH CDC department, for instance,
Yeah.
there was no policy for that. They had no policy on data sharing.
Sure.
So no matter how innovative your idea was, they don't have
Okay.
policy was a one thing. They don't have the system to share that data to you securely. And most people wouldn't know this, but a lot of hospitals in Nigeria, you can't just access the data. It's not like they're trying to be, they're very,
It's patient data. So I go to
yes,
thing. It's not just
yeah,
for grabs.
yeah. Like you can't. And if it's digital, it's even worse, right? Because the who's going to give it to you. And they keep it in a way that only the people that are looking at it has access to it, right? And then like, you learn from it as a student, right? But they
Yeah.
won't even tell you who it belongs to. So you after that, like you're learning. They have training data that they teach you with, but like you never really get to keep a lot of this data, right? The ones that you can use to whether go to school, whatever, they can keep it, but most of the data you don't have access to it. So at the time, I was like, what is this? It took me 2 months back and forth, meetings, lobbying with my mouth. Of course, I was poor, didn't have money to lobby that way. It was a lot. It was stressful. And it got me thinking, I have all these ideas. Like at the time, I was also working for like a health tech startup where I was like the head of AI, whatever. And then I was like, but I can't get access to data. I means I'm thinking about this problem wrongly. The people that have the important data don't want to give it to you. Can I grab medical data off from Kaggle or from anywhere public? Yes. I can grab some cancer data that is made public, right? Those UBTH cancer data. No, but that's what I want. I want to get access to UBTH's data, right? So that's when I realized, and I started thinking about what was the problem. First, there was lack of policy. Second, there was lack of system to share the data. And then I decided to do two things: to do research in engineering and computational policy, and at the same time, now but join a company that their job was to just solve this problem where people with data that you need have systems to unlock it in a private firm without abusing that data, hence AI privacy. Because the issue was, the problem with machine learning is that if you don't control what it learns, bias, you can learn your personal information. That's why, if you remember at the beginning age of these models, one of the issues that you had with ChatGPT or the large language models are people can hack it to print out people's private data because he learned it. It didn't,
Yeah.
it was not protected.
Was not protected.
So that's hence this is what triggered me to move on to decide to solve privacy. Yeah, because it affected me.
I feel like not a lot of that happens these days. A lot of, you know how people make career decisions, right? Where
Yeah.
we think of what's most viable, where can I make the most cash, where can I move up fastest. Very few people are going the route of, I genuinely want to solve a problem and be crazy enough to be like, I don't care. That's the route I want to go through.
Yeah.
How do I get there? How do I get from A to B? It's just that genuine interest. So, I mean, we've never had this conversation, so I didn't even know how you got here. It's so interesting to hear that. One question before I move on to, there's something around how you got into the jobs you spoke about very early, because I think
Yeah.
that's very interesting for early career people to sort of hear
Right.
about. I mean, we're talking about maybe 6 years ago, probably the landscape was very different, but I think they're still not getting there that people can pick up. But before we go to that, what does then your day job look like? Or would I say, what does then your piece in a tech project look like? Which one do you think is better to explore?
So if I understood the question correctly, you're
Yeah.
asking what my day as a job looks like?
Yeah. So I'm thinking if that's a better question to ask, or so you know what, let's go this route. Let's say there is a project. So Faith Hospital and Stephen Hospital want to share data, right? What does that project look like, and what is your role in that project?
So it doesn't really come as a project
Okay.
because we as a company also are just a software company, just a bunch of like researchers that do stuff, right?
Okay.
And how it happens is that we usually work with like really large organizations,
Okay.
and small ones as well. But because we are at the idea is not to build little tools. The idea is to change the entire paradigm from the infrastructure up.
Okay.
Like to just change it, thinking method. To change that, you need systems, you need policies, so there are, it's a multi-pronged effort in solving this problem. But let me just explain what it looks like. Let's say you are on a government organization of a country, because this is actually how we operate. Let's say you're a really large hospital let's say you are in a large hospital in Nigeria, and then there's a large hospital in like London or whatever, and there's a partnership happening. Usually what happens, for instance, we already have open source tools we've already built, a lot of it, that people can just use to, most of our systems, we find researchers using it to do research, right? Because it's not a commodity that exists anywhere. Like people would want to do something like, so there's what they call privacy enhanced technologies. There are different types like homomorphic encryption, secure multi-party computations, SMPCs. Don't worry, differential privacy. So for instance, right now, differential privacy is a privacy technique where Faith would return the results, because Faith wants, let's say Faith does not want me to know the actual value of that result I want to get, because it might compromise something, right? Let's say somebody just wanted to use your model to do your data that is financial data, but if they learn this figure, it's going to be an issue for you, right? You apply differential privacy to the output. So differential privacy controls result output. Call it output privacy. So what you will get will not be a differential number that you might think is, but it's not it. So you can never guess what the real number is.
But like, I don't want to stay here for 100 hours, but I don't understand why what's the point of building that tool and making it public when you know that the outcome, you don't want people to have the outcome?
Yeah, because no, you want people to have an outcome, or it's a type of privacy technique that is used for certain things. It's very useful for certain things, where if you give somebody a range of outcome, let's say the number is 30, the actual result is 30. And then you apply some differential, they call it noise. So once you apply that differential noise, the person will not get something like, they can now make an inferential guess that this thing is around this dancing, but I don't know what the actual number, but I don't want to waste time with that, right?
Do people, when I'm using this software, this open source product, am I aware that this has been applied?
Yes,
So
for you to
whatever
even use it, you generally, that's why it's not a
that
very
I
common.
agree
Yeah,
includes
it's not really a very common. It's not really a very common like thing. Like when people say AI privacy, when we talk about it, think about it from like the policy perspective. The tools that do this, right? You have to just know why you need them first in the first place, right? Because for a day to day user, you wouldn't even know why you need it, right? Like, but there are things like it would just, it won't give you the actual say, but it can apply output, give you some differential numbers, but because you know that is how it applies out, you take it. So DP is actually a well-known tool they can find in Microsoft and Google. They use it a lot. I think DP was invented. I think differential privacy was invented at Google, if I remember right. So where you just apply differentials to output, you don't want the actual result to be obvious. So, but I will accept that range of output. So now, not stay here. It starts like to organizations, but they can either adopt our tools. We have a bunch of tools we've built, and then we can advise, or we now design constantly because we are at the state of the arts. We're at the cutting edge of research. So there are constant new tools. Like for instance, right now, a good example to tease a little bit is that we've been designing a tool that will allow two computers. Now it's a different kind of privacy now. This is no longer humans now. If two computers must learn from each other, because we're entering agentic learning, right? They're going to learn from each other. We need to make sure that even though if one computer is saying, "Oh, I want to use your data," to somebody is trying to learn from you, it will prove itself to you that it is that computer. It has to prove itself at every point in time it comes to ask for your data, right? Say, "Hey, Faye, I'm coming. Look at my attestation. I attest that I am this person," right? And then, so there are many ways you can do it.
Okay, so what you are, I'm suspecting, or I genuinely believe that it's not the everyday Johns that do what you do, that do what this thing that you do, because it's just
it's not popular.
It's not popular, but I like it because it's an opportunity that exists out there, and you get there by constantly trialing and constantly saying, or by saying to yourself, "This is what I want to do." And keep on putting the work. And somehow, I won't say wonder, because wonder makes light of situation. But like you said, you wanted to do AI privacy, and this is how you got there. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are doing this project, because there's just a whole lot of stuff in tech and everywhere else, even human sciences, that you're like, you do what? But it's so interesting. And it's really, really so important to eliminate these things. We've geeked out for, I think, almost 45 minutes. So go on to probably less technical things, right? I think, I keep on saying that and I keep remembering, I wanted to ask about, we're going to talk about tools. I think tools is important. And I don't just want you to talk about tools you use in the day job, but sort of, are there foundational tools that the everyday John uses that they should be aware of that will get them to the tools you now use? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good question. So for anyone who's going to listen to this, just think of AI privacy as just another problem you're going to solve. There are always going to be fundamentals. As long as computer science is concerned, there are fundamentals computer science. And I don't care what you're doing, what you call yourself. There are things you need to know. First of all, you need to understand what the heck are computers or computational thinking. Like I remember back in the day, as far back as 2013, one of the things that I studied was computational thinking. Like because if you can understand computational thinking, you cannot understand how computers share information, right? It makes you think how information theory, how it flows, how computers move information around. It's important, right? But then when you move up on top of that, then you now start understanding, it's important for me to learn how to write software. Now, people will say, "Oh my God, it's not important because right now we're in the age of where machines can teach you." No. The problem is that if you don't understand how the system works, you can't even prompt it.
Yeah.
Like I can say all the things I'm saying right now, but I have the diction, I have the vocabulary.
Yes.
Because I am good. So again, this is also my philosophical argument. It's just a bit of a tiny segue against the fact that when people think that, because now we now have democratization of intelligence with LLMs, that you can now do what a specialist can do. No, I can't do what you do now, Faye, because I don't have the vocabulary. What am I going to tell the computer? So that's why if you have to understand that LLM and AI shift, change the mental is like specialists now hold on to vocabulary and forget about nitty-gritties. And you cannot just come from anywhere and haven't practiced the field and go and be like, because now you can now tell LLM, say, build me a website that does what? How do you explain what I just said now? If you don't have the vocabulary, you can't say it. So
Yes.
take time to learn the vocabulary of systems. And vocabulary of system is just how software works. How do I write software, right? What is a database? What is the structure of the data? So the fundamentals. What is a network? People say this doesn't help me. But the problem is, if you don't understand the computer, it just means that as it gets more complex, you can't, because where I am now, it's very complex. You're not thinking about systems from, I want a front end website and a back end. No, you're thinking about a system now as an entity. And you're not thinking about human behavior in using this system. So it's philosophical and very technical. So the tools you need is how to write software, how computers work. So software, I would say software development, just the basic knowledge that you need in these days, right? And then I would also argue that it's very important to learn just basic things like statistics as learning, right? Like, because at the end of the day, there are words you will start hearing, like, for instance, now variable output and inferences and all these things. You don't have the vocabulary for it. You're not going to understand it. And again, I'm answering right now for AI, not AI privacy, because I'm going to come up to that, right? Then when you now do all of these things, if you have understanding of data, you can now branch out. What is your problem? Like, you know what I mean? I would always say this because everybody, like in my area of work, I would still think of myself as just a software engineer.
Yeah.
But that writes a kind of software. You see, this is where it's mind breaking.
I think he was talking about it. I'm like, because it simplifies. If somebody hears, because that's also the thing. Like, somebody hears software engineer today, they think front and back end.
Yes.
Or full stack.
Yes. I'm happy that we are talking about that because I want to destructure that. It's not.
And it's interesting because I think another person as well who's going to come on, he's a software engineer. Or he tells you he's a software engineer, but what he describes to me, what he does, like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just in 1 minute, I can say something. Software engineering is just thinking about software at a systems level, at interaction, not just as this script that does this one thing.
Yeah.
And why is AI privacy at the end of the day still software engineering? Because imagine how reliable that software has to be for large organizations to use it for data control. So if you're thinking about it still as a huge software, but again, when you now bring it down, you now see mechanics of now like the AI part of it. We're only able to design the system because we understand AI and privacy and AI systems and the science of like privacy enhancement technologies. Yeah, so that's it. But it's still at the end of the day, software engineering.
Okay, so that's helpful. That leaves me with a lot of questions, but I don't want to sleep here. So.
My God.
The next question I have then is, what are the foundational tools people need to sort of tool skill set for AI privacy?
AI privacy now.
Yes. AI privacy.
Generally, if you just know all the things I just said, now it's now just a mental shift now, right? Mental shift in the sense that you can study privacy enhancement technologies, right? What is currently in existence? Because you need to have purpose to even, people always usually have a reason to go to AI privacy. Like, it's not something that you just wake up and imagine, right? If you can come from the fact that, I like to, I don't protect people's privacy. So you can just go and start learning about tools that do that. Like I just mentioned, things like differential privacy, homomorphic encryptions. For instance, right now, cryptography and all this blockchain at some point will feature in privacy enhancement technologies, right? So it's like they call it privacy techniques. So now you don't take that knowledge you've had, that foundational computer science knowledge that you had, you don't take it like all the software you've learned, all the things you learn about AI, you now go and apply it to privacy techniques. And you now start learning about what they call privacy by design, where every system you have to build, the first thing you think about is it must do everything to keep people safe. So it's not more like a tool and more towards like a mental model shift. But at the end of the day, at the beginning, you will use tools like Jupyter, Pandas, just the basic thing, because I don't know where you're going to be coming in from. But I would assume that if somebody did the data science foundational background, they would have gone through this. So at this moment right now is now systems thinking thinking about technologies, yeah, and less about the tools itself.
Okay, so are you then saying that it's what I think you've already said this, but just to clarify, it's
Yeah.
worth starting from data science and then growing from there?
Yeah, because you started from computational thinking all the way from understanding how to program a computer. You don't have to be a genius in all these things. Just understanding this is the basic. Data science, have a reason, and then you ramp it up from there. Yeah.
Okay. And Jupyter is something that people in data science know what that
Yeah,
is.
Jupyter Lab and Colab, all those things that, kind of like where you do the experimentation. Because most times, as you're building these tools, you would experiment to know how they interact with data, right? And
Okay.
you would place. So that's why in my job now, you are a data scientist, data engineer, AI engineer, you're everything. So if you don't
Mm.
have this fundamental knowledge, at some point you can't even think of where to begin from. Like a good example is, let's say you are an organization X, right? I'm organization Y, want to share data, and
Yeah.
another organization wants to help us. I need to understand your data systems.
Yes.
And that's not data engineering, right? So you see, the problem is that AI privacy is now, it's more now. That's why it's not very common people that do it, because you have to have a wide range of understanding. Not at every time, but you see, people do privacy, they're privacy scientists. They don't need to understand it because they do it, maybe they are studying a technique. But when you now come as a privacy engineer or someone that build these systems, Faith's data is living in Google Cloud Storage, and she's concerned about this. They don't want to. So now you're thinking from the data source to analysis. Any of this point, technology has to. So you have to think about that. So that's my every day-to-day tool is not all the things like fundamentals I've had, my data science experience, my data engineering experience, the techniques I've learned about privacy engineering. Research papers. Oh, the most important one. Oh, please. You have to learn how to read research papers,
Oh God, yeah.
which means that your math, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. Your math, your physics. I don't know what class you are in now. I just want to beg you, right? Your math, your physics. That's why I say statistics. You must be able to read research paper. You must be able to think scientifically.
Okay. All right. So that's actually a really, really good segue to the other aspect of it. Because all those things you've said, I think there is a thing, even in other fields as well. I don't work in tech, but in my work, I see where you sort of have to understand the foundational. So when you are getting into the really, really niche aspects, you can
Yeah.
pull from the foundational learnings and
Yeah.
understandings to be able to build for that level.
Yeah.
And so learning the foundations is sort of very important.
Yeah.
Now, there's something you said just now that you finished and I've forgotten it because I was listening to understand, not listening to respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Around this thing around, you have to be able to think scientifically. And I think
Yeah.
when you and I caught up pre-call, there was this thing we're talking about mindsets,
Yeah.
how in this age and time that is, it's not a different mindset is required
Yeah.
to solve it's not just Excel. We're
Mhm.
not thinking about when we think of Excel, I think people are thinking of everyday average success. No,
Yeah.
to shift systems and to build whatever it is, the things that we are seeing now, like people just come out. And so
Yeah.
there's a question of when you say scientific thinking, is that part of a broader picture of how we need to think differently for this age and time that we are
Yeah.
in, be
Yeah.
able to, I don't even know what it's called, build systems for lack
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good question. And in fact, everything I've said is not as important as I'm about to say right now. There is nothing that will drive you to success ever if you don't make a decision at the beginning, first, to be different. And secondly, to be excellent at every stage of your life, right? It's not, you can't change that. Like, and this is, I'm going to take off my glasses to just say this, right? Is that if I, most people just think you need to pay the price. There is actually a price of being able to sit down and learn the techniques of teaching yourself how to learn. Because this is the problem. You can go to school to learn. You can
Yeah,
take courses when people are watching you. When you have exams,
yeah,
you cannot do anything meaningful if you cannot sit down and teach yourself how to learn. So scientific thinking is so important because some of the things that we do here are very state of the art. The paper can come out like today and you already need the next week, right? And then you're thinking, oh, that's actually a really good thing. We should implement that. Now, if you can read research papers as they come out and understand how to move from paper to implementation, oh, that's a problem. Do you have to be a genius? No, just that you have to have scientific thinking. Like you need to take education serious. I mean education at the point where you understand how math works, how if you're in science, how physics works, because the thing is that if you limit yourself by not understanding fundamentals, you can't create anything new. You cannot, it might not be that you can create anything new, but you don't have the tools to be able to reason through something and go, oh, there must be a kind of thinking that made you understand that you need to solve this problem. So scientific thinking is very important. And I will say this because one of the things that helped me a lot, I remember, I will tell you this. First year, University of Benin, I didn't go home for holidays. See, for the first 4 years in school, okay, here's a fun fact. I volunteered at John Harris Library, University of Benin, almost till I graduated. For about 6 years. I volunteered at the library. I was at the library. It was my favorite place.
As
You know,
what?
John Harris,
Volunteer?
yeah, I just loved it. I just loved being at the
He look like you, so
I just loved it because I really do believe in knowledge. I do believe that the only agency you have, especially if you are a black kid somewhere or poor like I was or whatever, or don't see, access to knowledge can be argued, right? Access to
yeah,
knowledge can be argued, but that is it. Even at where you are in life, the only thing nobody can take away from you is knowledge that you acquire for yourself. Any other
yeah,
thing can happen, but once you're able to pursue knowledge and create that internal curiosity, because think about what happened. I was curious. Why can't I just get access to this data when I wanted it?
yes,
Like, and I went to go and, yes, it was like, my mind is always like, why? And I would say, please, young people, apply Socratic dictum to everything, or Socratic method rather, which is like, why? Just ask why. Like, why is this happening? Why did this happen? In fact, metacognition. You can even ask yourself, why am I asking why? Because people don't know that, but like, why am I asking why? It's like I don't know. It's because you're saying, because that's the fear from intelligence. Like, why do I care about, okay, think about the faith. Why did I care? I could have not cared. I could have just continued my study.
life, such is life.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
But I have already built the tools. I knew that I could pursue this knowledge. And I pursued it for 2 months, meetings, begging, whatever. I missed classes, right?
Right.
Yes. So I'm trying to describe to you using because I could list all these things that wouldn't make sense. No, me. Oh my God. I begged, I pursued. So be resilient. Things would fail, right? But learn how to inspect knowledge, how to question knowledge, have just the hunger for excellence. Learn to love intelligence because you will need it no matter how the world shifts, right? Yeah. Okay.
So it's actually, while you were talking, I remember a Socratic question and I went to Google it up because I needed the word to sort of explain it. Like that Socratic thinking that you're talking about, asking why.
Yeah.
Most times we're learned to question to get to a solution, not question to broaden our thinking.
Yeah.
And there's a thing of when you ask open-ended question, which is the entire base of Socratic question, when you're asking questions, sort of delve deeper into something to understand why its origin, you are expanding your thinking and the different lenses through which you see the problem or you come at the problem. And it's usually in better understanding the problem that you can come at a solution. Most times we want to go from problem to solution. However, there's a large chunk of space in between where there's kind of like the why, exploring the different levels, different systems, all the things that are coming together. And I think for you, that's probably what happened where you started to realize. I mean, I think in the beginning, you jumped from problem to solution, and that's how you built the model.
Yeah.
It's probably now retrospectively going back, you realize that there is a lot in the in-between. There is a lot of missing policy. There's a lot of missing process. There's a lot of missing. And in life, I think problem solving life, whatever, if we just stop jumping from A to B, you're just kind of like the in between, what's in there, what's actually supporting this thing, it makes it sort of, it's not just, it expands our mind. Sometimes people feel sort of like a futile journey because it doesn't get you the solution up front. It doesn't get you the solution. It's like, I don't want to waste my time. I just want a solution. But it actually expands your brain and your way of thinking, which would help you when you finally get to the solution stage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like I've asked a lot of whys in my life. See, I was by no means born rich, you know? So my first computer exposure, I mean, my father at the time had got us open email, whatever. But the first time I saw it, I want to understand. I was at a cyber cafe. I was like, what is this machine? I think I remember asking myself, why does it even exist? So I asked why. That why led to combine that knowledge I've gathered at the time, high school level. And I asked that why while I was in school. I encountered like this patient. Oh, I missed one story. The problem was that, let me even tell you how I got interested in breast cancer. We were doing, there was a called bedside biopsy. So there was a biopsy that was delayed for days. So they were like, oh shit, let's do bedside biopsy. Let's really know if the margins of the thing have increased. And I was like, oh, I thought it was like, the person, oh no, this is gonna take some hours. I was like, what? Why can't we just have machines do this? So I asked why. That why was what led me to now say, I'm gonna build a machine to do this. And then when I was about to collect data, I hit issues. I said, why? Policy and this. Oh my God, I built the system anyway. But what that helped me go on to now do research. I did research in engineering and this, and I moved to Canada to do the research. Guess what, Faith? When I arrived in the country, they had the same problem. My research now combined all the knowledge as a doctor, as a privacy engineer, and someone doing research in computational policy and engineering.
Okay.
And I worked with a hospital called St. Joe's to now design a system to implement AI at the point of care. So all the whys I've asked in my life
Got it somewhere.
got me to do that work that I cared about. And that was the first time a hospital in Ontario province was able to think about applying AI at the point of care that made it very practical. So always ask why.
That sounds really, really nice. Because I think one of the questions I was going to ask is, do you feel proud of your work? Like, does it give you, when you see the impact, does it sort of give you a sense of fulfillment?
Yeah. One of my biggest goals in life is to die as a classroom teacher. So everything I'm doing is I'm collecting life learning. So one of the ways I'm not trying to brag, but because I have lived by asking why, I don't have rules to live in. I treat myself, I inspect my life as I go. Not that I don't have plans, but I inspect my life to know my true interest in life is to teach people what I've learned. And what is the best way to become that kind of person is to just become a sponge that treats yourself as a subject of learning. So when I look at my life now, there's still more to do. There's still more to learn. But I think I've lived a life that I will be proud of. It has mistakes, things I would do differently if I go back. But all in all, I've seen my work. Let me tell you something one time. I was the partnership engineer for one project with a very difficult, large institution in a foreign country. But I was the middle person between my company and them, right?
Yeah.
But because I understand everything that they're doing from the perspective of healthcare, all my knowledge came into play and then human understanding.
Yeah.
Guess what happened? One time I got a message from my manager, and the message is so short, right? But it just culminated my life experience. She said something. She said, "Thank you for making this thing easy." Do you know what I mean? And at that moment, it doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, I get accolades and some things. I don't care about that so much. But that for me, for someone that is pretty skilled at that level, to just be like, this person knows how to make this thing look simple. It means that, and that for me is a big deal. So now in my daily life, every time I travel, what I do is that I always teach in universities. I always find time to consult for nonprofits and to always tell them, this knowledge I've gathered, this is how you can use it. And I'm also a philosopher, right? So I write philosophical documents. So I think I've done a little bit okay. It's a little life, but it's an honest life. Yeah.
I think that's good. I think that's great. And I think that's really, really good to see and hear. I mean, there are fronts, first of all, personally as your friend. I think I was reading your back. Sometimes, first of all, when you have friends, because you forget that, oh, this person is this smart, this person is this accomplished, this person is this inspiring. And so hearing you say that, I feel incredibly proud. So that's
Thank
on
you.
one end. You're welcome. But there's also the end of, as young people, sometimes we sort of think we have to be in our 50s to have accomplished stuff, or we have to wait till we have everything together to drive after stuff, to fight for stuff, or to fight for what we believe in, or to build a career. And it's like, you don't have to be with your young little power or whatever, under 30 or early 30s. You can do stuff. You can, however, it doesn't, it may not get you a BAFTA award. It may not get you MTV awards. It may not get you anything, but just you finding the ability to serve wherever it is you are, make that difference. Because I can bet that the ability to share data now is one of the reasons why some hospitals will go on to be able to solve some issues. And
Yes.
so many health issues, so many. It's like, since I moved to Scotland, I've been here, I'm like, what is that? The ability to, oh, I can't do this, my system can't do that. Anything we can do to sort of make that faster on that front, it's really, really incredible. Your name doesn't have to be splashed in newspaper, but just know that you can do stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it messy, you can do it with half
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
But
I like that. I like what you just said right now. I like what you said right now. Listen, I say all these things, but trust me when I say I had a T-shirt in final year that had read "Do It Afraid" because I really believe in it.
Yeah.
So whatever don't think you look at me. I was a scrawny boy back in Nigeria that just, you know what I mean? Like, but I just believe. One thing is that if you have conviction at any point in your life that you can do something, don't worry about whether what the world around you, because at the end of the day, if you believe it, you will find a way to get to get to that point. So I had a T-shirt and I wore it a lot because it reminded me that there are many things in my life now and in the future that I will do afraid, but I will do it anyway. So just always know that you will be scared, anxious, worried. It will fail. That's fact. Fall in love with that quickly, but you will keep going. Okay.
Okay. So, do you know that we've done 1 hour plus?
Oh,
It's geeky that I'll be geeky.
oh, so that's so good. That means we're having a good conversation.
I really wanted us to touch on something
What's
quite
that?
interesting. Cultural dimension. The cultural and the age dimension. Yes. So in the context of we're now in a super connected world, a lot of young people, first of all in Nigeria, want to do remote jobs. They want to work international companies. You and I work in a different culture. And there is something around in this age and time knowing how to carry that and knowing how to handle that, first of all, as an African. And then for young people, sometimes you walk into rooms and into spaces where you're the only person in your age group. And so that's two layers of challenge. First of all, there's cultural dimension, and then there's the age dimension. I think you and I spoke about this, and you said there were times where you were the youngest in the room, you were the only Nigerian in the room. There were times where you messed that up, and there were times where you sort of gotten better at it. So that is a huge question in there. But just anything you think is what valuable for young people to be aware of in this age of working across cultures and also being really young in certain groups would be very, very helpful.
Cool. Don't have hubris. So hubris is the big problem. Okay, so the thing is, when I say hubris is, don't drop ego as early as possible, right? Because think about it. For any sort of relationship to work, once you introduce hubris, ego, or nothing is gonna work. Any relationship. And then work is a type of relationship, right?
Yeah.
What is the first tool you do in any relationship you want to make work is to try to understand how people are as much as, and the only way you have to do that is for you to be humble, right? And again, sometimes you might be humble, but sometimes you don't even know because okay, think about me. I've never had any exposure at the time working with like people from another country. And I was working at the time, I was being like in the UK at the time. It wasn't common to work remotely. So I had no guide. So I made mistakes on the job, right? And then for instance, right now, my kind of work, I'm a kind of person that will just go and do something and then tell you after I'm done at the time, right? Guess what? That is a problem. That was a lot of problems because yes, I remember one particular day I had forgot to communicate ahead of time that I would have an anatomy test, right? I'm supposed to have a meeting, and the meeting didn't make sense to me at the time. It was like I was like, I already done the stuff. I will just tell you I've done the stuff, right? This is me, autonomous, believing that what you need to do was just to get the task done, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no. 20% of your job is your skill. That is the hard skill. 80% is human communication and dealing with people. Like, when you remember this, I was like, oh my God. When I got on the call, the manager said, oh, I saw what you did, but I'm not comfortable with you just doing stuff and this wasn't working. I now learned the first hard lesson. Preemptive communication, proactive. If you sense you're not going to be somewhere, you're going to be late, just communicate it. If you encounter something, this is very helpful. You're solving a problem. Don't be lazy and go and say it's not working. No, try something, right? Be fast. If you're in that trying something, you hit a roadblock, communicate it quickly, right? Yeah. People would almost all see at the workplace, over communication would hurt you less than not communicating. This is not relationship. I'm just kidding. But you can do not over communicate as much as possible, because that way, especially when you're remote, I need to know. I don't know where you are. Communicate with little things like putting your status updates, do things. Tell people you're not going to be around, because to help them calm the nervous system, right? So that was my biggest challenge at the time, right? And then in remote work, remote work comes a lot of trust. See, you are being trusted to do the job. Someone trusts that you'll be wherever nobody cares. Like my kind of remote work, nobody cares where you are, right? But it means that you need to learn how to be ethical and have integrity, which means that if you say, I'm going to do this, do it. Just learn ahead of time to keep your word. Because if you don't learn ahead of time to keep your word, I promise you, you would have a lot. Every single time I do any kind of review, work with people, one of the things that I always make sure I don't drop is dependability. You can depend on, you can trust that Stephen will come true. And if he doesn't, he will tell you ahead of time. This skill had made me work with people for as long as possible. And I tell you, it's not even about technical skills. So there are many things you can find out at the end of the day, but please communicate. No matter how bad the communication is, communicate it ahead of time. Yeah.
I think those are values. I think one thing that I would definitely add is understand the cultural dynamics really early.
Yes.
It will save your life. That's it will save
Yeah,
your
I didn't go that because like be humble. Know who you're working with, right?
it would.
Google it.
How do Canadians behave?
No, seriously. Let me tell you, do you know that if you're going to some countries that are very direct to work as a foreigner, you would take a course on how their locals behave so that you don't think that they're being mean to you.
Yeah.
Because think about it. A Japanese person, for instance, how they approach you, they'll bow, do all this, but that doesn't mean that they're afraid of you. It's cultural stuff. So you will not go to Japan and inconvenience them because you know that they were not going to say anything to you. That's being unfair. You know? So understand how people act. For instance, right now you hear that Canadians are very polite, but that shouldn't mean you take their politeness for stupidity, right? So if they say Germans are direct, that doesn't mean you go and be rude to people.
Yes.
You know, so that's why I said, don't do hubris. Hubris would kill you quick because, oh my God, I'm an engineer. My talent is what's important. No, I am still a manager with feelings. And here's the thing. People forget that in a meritocratic world, merit is still decided by people with feelings and they have flaws. You can be the best person. I can be like, this person is someone I don't want to work with. Let's find a reason to fire them because they don't know how to talk to me. So you're correct.
It's so I think that's one of the things that it's so important that we need to learn early. Because I think societies in the past have been quite insular, where you are kind of living in your own bubble. And so now with the internet, even with the internet, you still have to be insular. And that's correct because you need a certain level of drill down focus and attention to be able to sort of deliver at the level you need to at work, in life, with family, everything. However, there's the consciousness that when you are operating with people of other cultures, you sort of need to look up and out and be, how do these people work? How do these things work? So yeah, I think that was one dimension I definitely wanted to highlight. We have done this now for, I think that is.
I mean, it looks like I mean, do you guys have like a part 2 of the podcast? Here's the thing, because right now I feel like you have a lot of questions for me because I liked your face when I was trying to destructure this whole word about data science. I'm like, what do you mean? Because people just use this word too much. Like, and then for me, I don't want people to get confused, right? So maybe in the future, I don't know. I'm happy to take more questions, but like maybe in the future where if there is like, oh, let me second episode or whatever, I'm happy to just like maybe answer more niche questions. Maybe people are going to have more questions from the first episode. And because I know people would always have questions. Like one of the questions I've been asked a lot is, how do you keep the passion? How did I keep the passion of both? Like where did I get the mental strength to drag all these things along and maintain? Because I was a really good student. Well, I was, you know. I don't know why you look at faces like that.
No, I don't know.
But what was that? Like,
I know that TV.
You didn't know my academic prowess or what?
Go there. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's like, what? They didn't tell you? I'm just kidding.
I mean, I think I've told you before that you do have.
I'm just messing
So I think that's a very valid question, actually. How to drag those things, because especially in this age and time where people are now learning that you don't have to be focused on one thing. You can do multiple things and excel at multiple things, actually. I think that should actually be your last question before we wrap this up. How did you sustain?
Trust me, whenever I say I'm a good student, people always think it's academics. No, the Greek way of studentship. I did everything. I was in politics. I played football. I was a goalkeeper I played football. You didn't know this, but I'm going to say it on camera. I don't care. I was actually in the theater group for Scripture Union.
You were what?
I used to act drama at Scripture Union. Go on. Yeah, it's in the record.
Where are the
We used
clips?
to meet at a Greek. Listen to me. Meet at a Greek. Eternity Theater. Go check it out. Go ask. Go do your research. Eternity Theater at a Greek department, right? And then we would do rehearsals. And then we'll do our rehearsals at All Saints.
Okay.
Close to St. Albert, right? At that small hall. Yes, I actually used to act drama. I've acted at All Saints. I've acted at. What is funny? I was in the drama club in high school. What do you expect? And I like art, right? Like, so that's the thing. You're hearing all the things about me, but you thought I was just doing tech. So
Are you in ISEC as well, right? We're in ISEC as well.
No, I was in Enactors. Enactors is a different thing at the time, right? And then I was the first lead I was the first ever, in fact, I would say Google Developer Student Club, which was the first time. I brought that, I was the first ever. And I think that to date, I've had the highest number of like events and it was fun. Like I had fun being a student and I had a lot of fun. So I did school went through me. You would see me protesting for hostels at the time as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like I did everything.
Did you do everything? Because you started Girl Lead. You guys started Girl Lead.
Yes. 26 at the time. Yes. So what happened was I learned one thing really early in my life, that if you look at your 24 hours, if you have multiple interests in life, and if you think about it, how are we able to go to high school at the time and have timetables and we'll do multiple courses in the same day?
Yeah.
Because how did we mentally shift from physics to chemistry to biology? And guess what? We stay in school for about 8 hours and then we'll do like 5 courses and they are all different. So once that one starts, you shift mentally. That was very interesting to me. How are we able to do this? And I go, oh, it means that this whole idea of it can't do it, it's not true. So what I did is that I treat my life as a timetable. So I thought I had timetable, class time. When I'm in recess, I could just go do something else. So the point is that my life was a timetable, school time, this time. And I played football. I ran in the morning. I cycled in the evening. So my life, it was a dance, right? So because I had these multiple interests, tech was just one of them. Having a job was just one of them. Being a student was just one of them. So all of them was. So it wasn't like.
I get exhausted. Like I don't know. I don't think that you're sleeping well. I don't think that.
No, I had fun. I'm like, I had fun. I wish my student life, not tech and medicine life, I wish my student life on people to experience studentship. And I spent time with you know what? Let me tell you the best part of my day. When I was living in Hall 3, I wasn't rich at the time. I was broke. So after I'm done eating at the Buka, my evening dinner was very specific. At the time, I loved you guys. And I'm sorry if you're going to Uniben, you've missed the golden age of really good beans and bread, right? So there's this bread called Obey God bread. You can't go, this is documented, right? It's like Obey God bread is the best. There's no argument. Till now, I can't argue with you, even on this. After I'm done eating it, I'll now relax because John Harris used to run till like 11 p.m. at the time. So I would now go and stay at John Harris and just read anything I wanted. It was a good way to, I don't do night classes. So I'll go to bed by 11 or whatever, wake up like 4 a.m. I go for early morning classes. So my life was a design that I really liked. And I still live that, like Saturdays, I go to library on Saturdays as an adult now. Yeah, I timetabled my life and there are days that I failed at some things I made, but generally I was able to drag these things along because I was not, even when I burnt out from being an engineer or med school, I had other things. I could play football. I could act. Although I think that they always casted me as an armed robber at Scripture Union for whatever reason. I was like a cultist or something. I was never in the positive light. I was like, cast me as an angel. No, I wasn't good looking enough to be an angel. Anyway, yeah, that's why I never made it to Hollywood. Yeah, but that's it.
Did you think good friends also helped you?
Thank you for asking this question. I think I would not be who I am today if I had not met. I've met greatness. I think when I say I've experienced greatness. I can right way before school. I've met people that just they might not teach you anything, but they would mentality will set you on a path of greatness. Yes. And one of the prayers or things that I always prayed about is just to be able to meet friends that would help you understand what your life is about. I don't say give me money. I don't care about that. There are people that would just be like, oh, act this way and you will be this way. How did I come to join Girl Lead? Because I knew a friend that knew Augustine and would go, oh, you're doing Girl Lead, right? This guy does tech. Two of you should meet each other. It was at church. And then, you know what I mean? I've met great people. Like, people that know how to think. What? Do you not think about it all the time? Augustine's username everywhere has always been Aced Dreamer. Yes. Like, what does that even mean? It means that not only is he a good dreamer, his dreams are top notch. There are people that I've met. See, I'm interested. I love people. I love people's mind. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. Like, let me meet somebody that, oh my God, this person is great.
Yeah.
So I've met friends. Even right now, I'm humble enough to know when I meet somebody, and it doesn't have to be that they're good at tech or no. I met a friend. I met her in Nairobi. This person is so good with logistics. And I'm like, Maggie, you are great. This is greatness. I called her one day. March 5th was 1 year of our friendship. Before that, I told her, you're great. Just so you know, I've experienced greatness. So for me, one of the things that I know is that I'm always humble enough to know that I don't know a lot of things. I've worked with great people. Like, let me give an example. Let me talk about you. You know, I said this before. I joked about this before. I said, what exactly was the driving factor that we would do Girl Lead and sometimes trek back home? Why would you do that? Why can't you just do normal things? You know, where was that coming from? In my life, I've met people that would just knock you like, wow, I should go do better. Yeah. I think I stand on I am privileged. Oh my God. I'm very privileged. Everything I see right now, I could admit I'm lucky. I am very privileged to have met people that are great. There's nothing about this that because I'm smart. I mean, I've done work, yeah, but I've met great people. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I think because I think we sometimes underemphasize the gift of people that we have in life because they are not names, because they don't have ton of money, or because they're not related to wealthy people. Yeah. But if we start, I think we're in the age, especially when you get to, early 20s, you are still not sure. But I think by the time you get to mid-20s and late 20s, you start to sort of wake up to realization of what you are surrounded by. And you start seeing your friends and you're like, oh, you're actually really good at this. You're smart. Oh, you this particular. And there's a thing of seeing it and honoring it and loving it and respecting them for it. And being like, we are guys, we goof around. But when it comes to these things, hold back.
It's great.
Then they're
leave this person alone.
Honestly,
it's important. Because here's the thing. We are taught to compete too much. It's stressful. In competitive world, you think I have to win. No. The only thing you need, I don't know if anybody that watches anime, if you watch Naruto, you will see there was a thing between Sasuke and Naruto. There was a reason. Now listen, in these two things, there was a reason why Naruto wanted Sasuke, his classmate, to acknowledge him that he is great. Think about that. Naruto did not care for his teachers to acknowledge him. No. He wanted his peer to acknowledge, I'm great. Because he believed that if his peer can acknowledge greatness in him, who else? Please, when you see people around you that can do, let me tell you, I had a classmate in primary school, two people. One of them was Godfrey. Nobody sharpens pencil in this world better than Godfrey. If Godfrey sharpened, the thing is I'm taking is a joke. I went to command, right? Everyone that knows command. If Godfrey sharpens your pencil, nothing's going to happen to it. He was so good. You come to class in the morning, you drop off your pencil on his desk. I don't know what skill was that. Guess what? He had fine motor skills. Because before comics were a common thing for a young Nigerian at the time, Godfrey would draw comics for us back home over the weekend. Do you know how great he was? He would draw a full movie, bring it to class. What? And you have to borrow. He was great. You don't understand. I was taking first position, right? I don't have that skill. I have to lobby because I'm not that cool. Godfrey, I'm not joking. Faith, he would draw helicopter. He would draw a full movie. He would draw dialogues. End to end. We were waiting for him to produce this.
Do you know where he is now?
Yes, he's an architect.
I mean, I was thinking that he had to have gone in one of those
Yes,
acts
and then guess what?
forever.
Anyway, so my point is recognize greatness even though it's not glamorous.
Yeah.
Like just see the people that are great at their point in time. And then it doesn't have to be academic. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on, but yeah.
We can go
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, I think thank you. That
Yeah.
was really, really great conversation.
Thank you.
And I really, really hope that you guys took a lot from it. There was a lot of goofing around there and here
Yeah.
and there, but there are nuggets. There's wisdom
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah.
I hope it was as interesting. I hope as you listen to this, it's not just interesting gist between two friends. It's
Yeah.
something you come away thinking with action points, and it shifts thinking and mentality around how you want to approach your life
Yeah.
and your profession as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Stephen,
Thank you,
for
everybody.
geeking
Thank you
out
for
with me
having me.
this
No,
afternoon.
I'm happy to do this. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
thank you guys for staying with us till the very end. Bye.